July 25th, a peaceful protest on Congress Avenue in downtown Austin, just blocks from the state capitol. Suddenly, the demonstration turns deadly. Black Lives Matter demonstrator 28-year-old Garrett Foster is shot and killed as he's walking down the street. The shooter, Daniel Perry, was in his car trying to make a turn through a crowd of protesters. Perry told police he shot Foster in self-defense. Perry has never been charged with a crime. Why? Because Foster came to the demonstration with a semi-automatic rifle. This interview with Foster, posted on YouTube, was recorded just before his death. He talks not only about the gun draped on his shoulder, but the violence on his mind.
I mean, if I use it against the cops, I'm dead. And I think all the people that hate us and, want to say to us are too big of to stop and actually do anything about it. So.
Instead, Foster was the one who died. A tragic end, but perhaps a predictable one, given what was going on in the streets of Weatherford that same day. And on the streets of Dallas. And in Tyler earlier this summer. For those old enough to remember, the scenes are reminiscent of what we saw on the news in the 60s. But even those who remember don't recall seeing this, especially between Texans.
Turn it off! Hey, you guys shouldn't even be here, bud. You off! Hey! Get up,
But this time really is different in terms of the level of polarization that pre-exists in America today. We are more polarized, and there's political scientists are able to document this, that we are more polarized than we have ever been in modern times.
Eric Folkerth, pastor of Kessler Park United Methodist Church in Dallas, fears that polarization between the right and the left is leading us into treacherous territory.
And so we have this big conflict that's going on. And I think it comes from our very tribal nature. We are tribal in our deepest nature. We divide up in sports teams. We love it. We cheer for our team, and we hope the other team gets killed.
Get the hell out of here!
Because they're Marxists. That's what the Democrats are. They hide behind the name Democrat when they're really Marxists.
You know what they do?
No better example than in Weatherford, Texas, where just a few weeks ago.
They're starting a social civil war. And we want this to just be put to rest. They need to leave us alone and go take care of their business.
Supporters of the Confederate monument on the courthouse circle.
If it gets started, it'll be on their side. It's going to be all on them, not on us.
We're here to defend.
We're here to defend.
Have come face to face.
Go home, commies! Go home, commies!
With Black Lives Matter activists who have come to protest.
It's only when these people with the guns that support the statue being there, it's only then that it gets so hostile.
I mean, they can protest, we protest. Don't walk over here and threaten us.
And that's where things have changed. Texans who have become so passionate about politics and civil rights have started bringing lethal words.
He asked this man if he was ready to die. The man right there in the colored mask.
And lethal weapons to the streets, and are ready to use them.
We never brought a gun to the square until they started showing up in droves with guns. What are we supposed to do?
Can I ask you why you're carrying the gun?
So nobody out here gets shot like they have been over the past week.
But you brought a gun.
I have a Second Amendment right to do so.
Okay. Are you doing it because the other side is doing it?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I'm a nurse. I'm not one to take lives. I save lives.
Most troubling is how many of the conversations in Weatherford this day turn to the topic of civil war. A modern day call to arms Texan versus Texan.
They're starting a social civil war.
So for those of you who are still thinking that another civil war is a fantasy, wake up and smell the gunpowder.
Few in Texas more vocal about the potential for violence than this popular YouTube video blogger named Heavy Duty Country.
When you think of civil war, what do you think of? Two armed armies faced off in a field ready to die for their beliefs? The Battle of Fort Sumter? The Battle of Palmetto Ranch? Well, welcome to 2020 and the start of our Civil War.
Who exactly is this young man and how serious is he? I reached out and I found him. He's a rancher in his mid-20s from Central Texas. He agreed to talk to me if I protected his identity. Why? He says his videos have upset liberals who have threatened his life. He says that doesn't mean he's not prepared to fight. His videos make that very clear.
I think if we don't get to a point where we're just thinking logically and can agree to disagree and understand that just because we disagree doesn't mean we can't be buddies or friends or have a coffee together, then yeah, I mean, we're gonna get to a point where people are just shooting people.
You've got a cross around your neck.
Yes, sir.
What does that cross mean to you?
I'm a Christian.
Folkerth says what we are witnessing in the streets of Texas today is the opposite of what Christianity stands for. He says it's even the opposite of the political foundation laid out by our founding fathers.
The word compromise is now a bad word for everybody. Nobody wants to use the word compromise anymore. Well, we have a political system that assumes compromise. We were founded on a system that assumes that people will get together, they will fight in the arena of politics, and they will work out their differences so that there's not bloodshed on the streets.
Which leads us to our next question of those who have gathered in Weatherford to defend their side. Does either side see room for compromise?
You ever see that happening?
I wish. If they were more open to having dialogue and actually having an open mind with the dialogue, we're all for talking to people and dialoguing and trying to come to some common ground.
Emancipation Proclamation 1863.
We've found that they don't really like to do that, and their conversations are always a roundabout in circles.
Why do you want to spit on another person?
So it's pointless.
They ain't no coming together when they have signs up there saying our Confederate ancestors were traitors. They were fighting for their country. They weren't fighting against their country.
I very much worry about where we are headed in the days before the election and the days after the election. I can no longer say our system will function the way it's supposed to function. I pray to God every night that it will.